So Gerald, you're here tonight to talk to us about the Ancient Astronaut Theory. And I guess the first thing I wanted to ask you before we even get started, do you see a difference between the Ancient Astronaut Theory and the Ancient Alien Theory, or are they completely the same thing?
I'm assuming that they're the same thing. Based on the research and everything that I've done, I've come to my own conclusion that they're pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, okay. I just wondered because I've heard people use them kind of interchangeably, and I just wanted to verify that. So I guess we should let people know that Gerald has his own show or series, I guess you would call it, Gerald, on YouTube. And do you have a short link to your YouTube page?
Well, if anybody wanted to access my channel, it's called Unexplainable Phenomenon TV.
Unexplainable Phenomenon TV.
Yes, it's relatively new. I just started it a couple of months ago, and I started a series called UFOs and Aliens in the Bible, and it talks about just that, just what it says. It takes away from the traditional theories that's taught to us in churches and stuff like that, and sort of looks at it from a more scientific viewpoint. But not only does it have that programming, I'm working on some other programming, but what I like about the channel is it has various meticulous playlists that people that are interested in unexplained phenomenon, they can go there and look up playlists. They can go look up Billy Myers or UFOs or anything, and there's a bunch of playlists that are put together from videos that are on YouTube. And to get to that channel, they would simply put in one word, G-Man Little.
G-Man Little.
Yes, in the search engine.
All right, very good. And so you say you've been doing this for a couple months now, and have you gotten some good response back? People are enjoying your content?
Yes. I get emails from people all over the world explaining their theories and their experiences and stuff like that. It's actually been very rewarding. I think in the UFOs and Aliens in the Bible series, I'm addressing questions that have been on people's minds, for a long time, but to address those in our society can be deemed as taboo, or you can be deemed a heretic or something like that.
Well, yeah, you can definitely be shunned, can't you?
Yeah.
I live that life as well, so I totally understand. But yeah, the power of the internet when it comes to topics like this is just amazing. Just how far you can reach with your ideas and theories.
Yes.
Well, listen, I will definitely put a link up on the website on topicufo.com to your site as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit? I know I believe you had a certain experience that happened to you when you were young that probably changed your outlook on this whole thing, although maybe it's taken this long for you to, start broadcasting your theory. But you had quite a bizarre happening when you were young. Is that correct?
That's true. I can tell you about that. Let me start with my childhood.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was different than most children. At around the age of 4, while all my friends and brothers and sisters were outside playing, I was leaning up against the wall, contemplating, thinking, wondering, who is God? So I've always had a curiosity about life from a young age. And I got some ridiculous answers. When you ask your siblings, they would say stuff like, he's a guy in a red suit with a white beard, and he brings you toys at Christmas time, you know.
That's a typical American description, I must say.
Yeah, so, but somehow I knew that wasn't true. It just didn't sound right. But later on in life, at around the age of 11, I was playing out near the edge of the woods. We had a lot of woods behind our home, and the atmosphere began to change. And I have a video explaining this. It's, in fact, the introductory to the series UFOs and Aliens in the Bible on YouTube.
Is that the Burning Bush episode?
Exactly, the
Okay.
Burning Bush episode.
I actually included that on the invite, the Facebook invite for this show, folks. So that's the one he's talking about. Go ahead, Gerald.
Well, it's a hot day. It's summertime, and it's sunny and just having a great time. And all of a sudden, the atmosphere begins to change. It was, like the atmosphere began to turn gray. And it's hard to explain. It's very vivid in my mind, but it's hard to explain. But it's almost as if the sun was going in and storm clouds were coming. And what happened was, right there in front of me, and I can use measurements now. As a child, I didn't know how to explain everything, and I have my own theories today. It was very confusing back then, but probably about 10 feet away, what I would call today a portal opened up. Back then, when I used to explain to my grandmother and, everybody, I would say the air opened up right in front of me. And out of the air, or out of this portal, came this sphere. This sphere, it was about the size of a between the size of a beach ball and a basketball, and it was making this real weird sound. It was very loud, not so loud to where it was, could be heard in the house or anything like that, but to be near it was loud enough. And what I thought was fire was, I thought it was a ball of fire at first. I thought it was just, like some colorful fire, but it had blue and green and yellow and all kinds of stuff. So I thought it was just like a fireball that was very contained in like a glass sphere.
Now, let me stop you for 1 second. So, how old were you at this time?
I was around 11 or 12.
Okay, so you weren't super young, preteen type of age.
Yes.
My God, so this thing was 10 feet in front of you. The portal or air opened up, as you say. This thing comes out. Now, does it come closer to you than the 10 feet, or does it stay within these confines of this portal?
It stayed. It stayed right there. The whole atmosphere, everything stayed the same as long as it was there. And it appeared to, I'm wondering what it is. I'm wondering what it is. And but it appeared to be able to read my thoughts or whatever. And I'm asking what it is to myself or to whom I'm thinking is God, or, outside of that sphere, I'm praying and I'm like, what is this, God? And it appeared to be able to probe me or know my thoughts. So it wasn't frightening at all. It was just baffling. It was bewildering. just something I had never seen. It was a phenomenon. It didn't pose any threat. It stayed for about, I would say, 45 seconds to a minute. And then it just went right back in to thin air. And the sun was back out and everything. It was the weirdest thing.
Now, was there anyone with you or near you at this time?
Well, at the time that everything started changing, my siblings were out, brother and sister was out, but they thought that it was going to rain, and I didn't want to go in the house because, like I said, it was like the clouds started coming. It was almost as if a storm was coming.
So they actually experienced the darkening of the skies, the clouds coming in.
Yes.
And left. Yeah. And then it was shortly after that this portal thing happened.
Right. Exactly. I was being stubborn, didn't want to go in the house. I wanted to stay outside. You know, it was a nice day. And for a storm to just come so quickly when it's hot and sunny, that within itself was baffling for me. So I hung out, and I was going to wait until it rains, and then I was going to go in the house, but it never rained. It just, this portal came. Today I call it a portal. I just explained to my grandmother that the air opened up, and she was a little upset because she was like, whenever you see something like that, you need to run in the house and come and get me. And if I had done that, I would have missed the whole experience because it wasn't there long.
Right, right. So you were saying that you felt some sort of telepathy going on during the instant. Now, did you feel like it was providing you with any type of information? Or was it just,
none whatsoever,
giving you an overall relaxed feeling or something like that?
Yeah, more so like that. And that's the confusing part because it's almost as if it can read my thoughts, but it didn't impart anything into me. I couldn't, it wasn't like it was trying to tell me anything. But even, I was, like I said, I was a strange child. I read my Bible every night. I wanted to know who God was. And what I'm thinking today is that maybe it imparted something in me that lay dormant until now, because what I'm finding is a lot of people have had similar experience. I talk to people, and tell them my experience more so now because today you can talk about things and everybody don't think you're crazy. I was very, very reluctant to put my video out on YouTube because I studied at Life Christian University. I've been in the church all my life. But I've always had questions. I've always had questions about the way things were written in the Bible. And I would go to the preacher or the pastor or the reverend, a lot of different pastors, and explain these things, how the Bible is written, but, they would just explain it away in a traditional sense.
Right.
But all my life, I've been reading stuff totally different and getting more of, not so much miracles, but more like God was closer to us. The God that they talk about in the Bible was more like us, more human than omnipotent.
Right.
Omnipresent. And I have, in fact, I brought my Quran with me. I have my Quran right here. I also have a scripture in the Bible that I would like to read to kind of show you what I mean.
Okay.
I don't want to talk too much. I can go on and just share, but do you have any other questions?
Oh, I got tons of questions. So
Okay.
but go ahead and read your passage.
Okay. One of the things that always baffled me was some of the stuff that happened with Abraham. And in fact, let me get my iPad, and I had some stuff ready.
Now, just to let you know, you're talking to somebody that has almost zero background in the Bible. So
Okay.
don't just assume that I know who these people are and what they did. Okay? Just letting you know.
Well, I have been I read my Bible every night as a child. I have given my heart to the Lord, as they say in a traditional sense. And I've read the Bible and studied. I have my degree in, I have a degree in theology. But
you take this stuff very seriously. I can tell. I mean, you don't just talk the talk; you walk the walk as well.
Right. But as I've been studying, though, and reading other texts and books, I think one of the problems that most Christians face is the fact that they're encouraged not to look outside the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And they also believe, and I once believed this way, by the way, that the Bible is the infallible Word of God. But when you really start studying it and looking at the history of it, you'll find that that can't be factual.
I agree, and I'll tell you, Gerald, my issues are not with the Bible. They're not with one's belief in God, quote unquote. My concerns center around organized religion. That's where I have all my problems. I think a lot of terrible things have happened because of organized religion. I think, I can't even get off on the topic, or I'll never shut up. So,
listen, I can go there with you, and I can relate, and I definitely understand exactly where you're coming from. I operate more now from the perspective of loving people, forgiving people, and more of taking the Christ message and living that part in my life, not so much in the judging and the division and all of the stuff that organized religion brings.
And if everybody else did that, the world would be such a nicer place to live.
Right.
Guarantee
but
it.
I started this series because I can read stuff in the Bible, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not how they taught it. I mean, this isn't what the preacher is saying. It's saying something different. See, we've been taught that God is omnipotent, omnipresent, and I know I'm going to step on some people's toes. I apologize in advance. But if they watch the series, they'll understand where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. I just want people to, look at the Bible in the sense that it may have been written more from a scientific view. For example, I'm looking at Genesis 18, verse 20. And this is the story about when God came down to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And he stops by Abraham's place. It's a long story. And Abraham convinces him not to destroy it if there were so many righteous people in this city. But here's the part, when I read Genesis 18 and 20, it says, and the Lord said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grave, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me, and if not, I will know. Well, when I start reading stuff like that, my mind says, wait a minute, you're supposed to be omnipresent. You're supposed to be omniscient. You're supposed to know everything. Why do you actually have to come down and see?
Very good
Bible,
point.
You know, and there's so many things in there like that. The Bible talks about Jacob, you know, wrestling with God and the ladder coming down out of heaven and stuff like that. When he deals with Sarah and Sarah talks, laughs inside after God tells Abraham that Sarah's going to have a baby, and she laughs and God hears that. You know, a lot of the stuff that's in the Bible I'm seeing today, a lot of people are having those same experiences, but they're with extraterrestrials. And I started putting things together years and years ago, even when I was the evangelical fundamentalist, you know, Christian in the religious sense. But it just, let's see, I need to go on. There's just too many to go on. And then I found out about Zachariah Sitchin. And do you know Zachariah Sitchin?
Yes. Yes, I am aware of him.
Hold on, I think I got you back on speaker.
You do.
Okay.
There
Sorry
we go.
about that.
There we go.
Okay. I started reading Zachariah Sitchin's work and Eric von Daniken's work, all after I came to the same conclusions. Now, their work was done prior to me discovering the same conclusions that they came to. So for me, theirs was more like a revelation or confirmation of the things that I was seeing written in the Bible. And after I started seeing that, I began to study even more, and I kind of came to the same conclusions. Even one of the theories that I had, and I'll shut up after this so you can ask some questions. One of the theories that I had been seeing in the Bible was when God was delivering the Israelites out of Egypt, and he was using Moses, he only allowed Moses to come to the mountain, and the children of Israel had to stay their distance, and he only dealt with Moses. And I was like, wait a minute, why is God only dealing with Moses? Was he afraid that, was he afraid of the people, that they might attack him, that they might hurt him? And because I study all the texts and all the books and stuff, while I was reading the Quran, I found in Surah 2, number 57, that where God answers that same theory. By the way, he calls himself we and us all the time. But here we go, Surah 2, verse 57. And God's talking to Moses. He says, and we made the clouds to give shade over you, and we sent to you manna and quail. Eat of the good things that we have given you, and they did not do us any harm, but they made their own souls suffer the loss. So even God said that the children of Israel, Moses and his people, did not do them any harm. So we always talk about one God, you know, monotheism,
right.
And the Bible, the Quran, everybody else talks about it in the plural form.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and they do have explanations for that we have bought into because
I'm sure they
had
do.
to explain it in the church, but it's still something to think about.
Yeah, and that leads me to my first question, and I can't think of anybody better to ask this question than to you. One line that has always piqued my interest in regards to the ancient alien theory. Now, again, you're talking to someone that is completely ignorant regarding the Bible, so just correct me if I'm wrong here. Supposedly, in the Bible, it says, and we will make man, or he made man in his own image, or they made man in our image.
Let us make man.
Say that again?
It says, let us make man
let
in
us.
our... Yes, let us make man in our image. That's in Genesis.
Okay, so us meaning plural.
Yes.
Like like a family of people, a community, another group. It wasn't one person. Wouldn't it be just one if it was just God?
Right.
So, I mean,
Right.
that right there is probably one of the biggest thing that shouts out at me. And I'm sure they've got an explanation for that. I mean, you know.
Well, the explanation that we've been taught traditionally is that the Father is talking to Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. And it's a very good explanation. However, if you look at the Sumerian text interpretation of, and this is where the Ancient Astronaut Theory or alien theory, I mean, basically they're one and the same.
Right. Understood.
It could be, people can interpret it to be angels, but if you look at the Sumerian text, it talks about our creators coming down from the planet Nibiru, and, you know, their atmosphere was being depleted, and they would need to harvest gold and spray the gold in the air, which today is funny. We're spraying chemicals in the air, chemtrails, and they say it's to help the ozone. They say it's geoengineering. They say it's to change the weather environment. Now, that's, I guess, the government's explanation of it. Nobody really knows what it is.
Right.
But we seem to be doing the same thing. And in those chemtrails, it's aluminum, and they say it's to seal the ozone. Well, according to the Sumerian text, it was the same situation. The only thing is their atmosphere was made of gold. So,
and from what I understand, Gerald, they have actually located mines, gold mines, down in South Africa.
Exactly.
That date back thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years ago.
That's right. And they found some here in North America as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, they did. They're finding them all over the place. But South Africa, you're right, they found some very old mines there.
So would you say now that as of today, this evening, that you are a firm believer in the ancient astronaut theory?
Yes, I would say this. Let me say it like this. I would say that in every religion, and there's a lot of them out there, realism, there's a lot of religions we don't know about, that the average person doesn't know about. I know about a lot of them because I study them. But in every religion, somebody came down, including Christianity. Christ came from somewhere. He kept saying, my kingdom is not from here. But in every religion, somebody came down and taught to us. And when they did, they brought more knowledge and technology, I think, that they didn't show us the technology too much. Or if they did, we perceived it to be miracles.
Yes, or magic, or...
Right, right. And we deify these beings. So my thought is that there are a vast amount of people or intelligences or extraterrestrial beings, humanoids, whatever you want to call them, that come from different places and come and visit Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to call them ancient astronauts because they've been traveling a lot longer, you can call them that. If you want to call them extraterrestrials, you can call them that because it just simply means not from, off planet. Extraterrestrial just means not from the Earth.
Right.
So,
Let me stop you 1 second here, because I want to go back and talk a little bit more about, excuse me, the Sumerians.
okay.
Because I'm still a little confused here. The Sumerian text. What does it actually say as far as, were there human beings on the planet when the ancient astronauts arrived? Because I always thought the ancient astronaut theory included some type of genetic alterations from a possible a human-like species that may have been on the Earth at the time. They did their genetic alterations in order to create workers to mine the gold.
Right. I think, and if you look in the Bible, when Cain killed Abel and God cast him out of Eden, Cain was afraid to go out because he said to God, I don't want to leave the garden because when someone sees me, they will kill me. And God said, no, I'll put a mark on your forehead so that when they see that, they'll know I put that there and they won't harm you. So, yes, if you look at the progression of man, there's been so many different types of man, Neanderthal.
Right.
And I think that we, Homo sapiens, are the last improvement.
You feel they are the last improvement?
Well, the current one, but I don't think we're finished yet. I don't think that...
that's what I'm saying. Do you think that we could be in store for another DNA splice of some sort to take us to this next plateau? Do you?
I really do, because when I buy my computers, I make sure I have a lot of gigabytes, and the more RAM I have, the better. But when I buy that computer, there's hardly anything on the hard drive.
Right.
And let's say you buy a 500 gigabyte computer, and when you check the space available, you might only have 498. That's because they've already put stuff in it, and some of that space is even blank, so that when the updates come, they'll have space to update it. I'm talking about the manufacturers as they're improving on their programs and software and stuff.
Right.
They leave space for them to add stuff, even after you buy the computer. I think that it's the same with us. Our creators have left so much space in us. There's so much empty DNA and strands, and there's so much room for increasing the brain functionality, and there's just so much more we can do.
Well, I totally agree with you as far as the brain thing goes. I think scientists have pretty much proven that What we use about 10% of our
Yeah.
current brain mass. Um, and I'm just wondering, what if we are looking at another step in this evolution put on us by some type of outside entity. I'm just wondering what those improvements, quote unquote, improvements would be. As a society, we're pretty bad. I mean, the fact that we kill and the war, and we're not perfect humans at all. Human beings are not perfect entity. That is for sure. So there
Right.
is a lot of room there for growth. What do you think some of the improvements might be? Would it just be a higher level of spiritual, or would it be more intelligence to take us on to that next plateau?
Well, I think once you get to the higher level of spirituality, then intelligence comes with it.
True.
Right now, there are a lot of people that call themselves channelers, that say that they are receiving messages from other entities. There's a lot of people that some would deem whistleblowers. Now, this field is mixed with a lot of disinformation, and it's really hard to decipher the truth. So you kind of have to take stuff, with a grain of salt, and, have some skepticism. But even with that, there's some truth in it. I personally feel that there's a group of people, including myself, that really is focusing on the higher spiritual level, the loving, the tolerating, the forgiving, the, blessing, helping, doing good, and transforming people's lives by doing those good things and teaching them, some of our theory, teaching them spiritual principles without the religious aspect behind it.
I think people would be are much more open to that spirituality rather than organized religion. I think organized religion has pretty much run its course, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But now, how about people, so-called mind readers or mediums, those kind of folks? Would you view them as slightly higher plateau than, your generic population?
I wouldn't say that they're at a higher plateau. I would say that they have some gifts because, and I refer to the Bible a lot because I've read it and studied it all my life. The Bible talks about certain people having certain gifts. Mm-hmm. And some of those are discerning spirits and stuff like that. But also in the Bible, it talks about staying away from people like that. And whatever the whole agenda is of those of higher powers or intelligences that are driving mankind, I think that you have someone else, benevolent and malevolent people out there.
Right. Now, let me ask you something here, because we're starting to get a little short on time, and I definitely want to get your thoughts on a couple of things.
Okay.
One of them, we can't talk about the ancient alien theory or ancient astronaut theory without talking about the pyramids in Egypt. First of all, a lot of people think when they think pyramids, they automatically think of Egypt. But the truth is that the pyramid design is found all over the world. There's nothing to understand how somebody half a world away would know how to build something exactly the way these other people did, basically during the same time frame, I believe. What about the pyramids? And we'll talk about just the ones in Egypt right now. Do you think those were built by aliens, or at least assisted by?
Yes. I think somebody off planet. First off, I think the pyramids have a whole lot more significance than just the pharaoh's grave site. There's that theory that it was designed to bury the pharaohs in so that it can help them go, to the next life and stuff like that. My opinion about them, I think that they had something more. And again, like I say in my series also, these are just my hypotheses. These are my theories. I'm not saying at all that, I'm correct, but I'm thinking that the pyramids played more of some sort of transportation type. I think it had something, how we go to the airport?
Right.
And we fly from one place to the other. I'm thinking the pyramids had something to do with travel, interplanetary, maybe even interdimensional travel.
And I don't think that's a way out theory, to be honest with you. I think that's a very possible theory.
Because they found, the face on the moon. They found pyramids. I mean, not the moon. I'm sorry, on Mars, and they found the pyramid on Mars as well. So I think it was some sort of transportation hub, maybe a portal, a Stargate, some kind of traveling device.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one possibility that I think it could have been.
And then, as far as some of these stones, 1,000 tons, just an amazing amount of weight on these stones. If you watch television or if you remember the films back in grammar school, it was 20 or 100 slaves dragging these blocks. Just simply couldn't happen, number one.
Right.
But the intricacy of how these stones are cut rival some of our highest technology for making scientific measuring tools, etc. And you're trying to tell me, or people are trying to say, that these Egyptians did this on their own. I just can't understand how anybody could believe that. It just does not make sense. It doesn't compute.
If the Egyptians did it, then they were at a higher frequency, vibrational, spiritual, sensory level than we are.
I agree.
So, no, I honestly believe that we have help. We had help. The problem is so much history got lost over time, and we don't know what caused a lot of it to be lost.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too much we don't know. But to say that everything, these great wonders of the world, was all man-made and all by himself, did it all by himself, that's given us a lot of credit.
It's given us too much credit. And
yeah.
I think there's a lot of things in history books that need to be reviewed. Listen, we've got a couple of questions from the chat room. that I wanted to pose to you.
Okay.
Number one, do you have any thoughts or theories on why the quote-unquote aliens are not presenting themselves in the modern time? I guess in the present time as well. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you asking, are they presenting themselves?
No. The question was why aren't they? So, when we talk about ancient alien theory, we're saying, these entities must have come down to Earth to help build these pyramids. Why haven't they
Right.
come down to help us prevent war, or come down to prevent a nuclear
To be honest,
explosion or something?
to be honest, I think they have. I think we're interacting with them now. I think that they walk amongst us. I think that some of them look so much like us that we don't know. But if you listen to a lot of, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Greer in his press conference, but a lot of the military people have come forward and talked about aliens intercepting nuclear warheads and, the tests and zapping them.
Oh, absolutely. Shutting them down.
They've
Shutting down the
shut down-
silos.
Right, they've shut down silos. A lot of the channelers today are saying that there is a group of aliens that will not allow nuclear war. For us, when we were building up arms many years ago, for us to all of a sudden start decreasing and destroying them, I think that we actually are being visited now.
So you definitely then feel that the government and the powers to be are involved somehow with these entities. Do you think that the government and the high-powered people of this planet are trying to keep the entities from exposing themselves to us, so to say? Are they trying to keep that on the down low?
I think so.
Oh,
There's a scripture in the Bible in Psalms that confused me for many, many years, and God talks about why the nations of the earth try to fight against him, and he sits up on his throne and laughs. It's like the scripture talks about, and anybody can go to Psalms 2nd chapter and read it, they'll see it. But it talks about, like, man, the kings of the earth do not want God to come down and, and rule the earth.
right.
So, I do think that the government is hiding a lot.
I completely agree with you.
It's sad to say there was once a time when anything our government said, I believed in.
Yeah.
But today it's kind of hard to believe in anything that they say.
I'm telling you, it's just gotten ridiculous. It's even hard to watch the local news anymore because it's such trash. Do you have any thoughts on crop circles? Do you feel that any of that activity is truly coming from some outside entity?
I do. I actually do. I don't think that man makes them all. I think that, we make some of them.
Right.
But I think we started making them in order to cover up the original ones that were showing up.
Mm-hmm.
The government always tried to put in debunkers, disinformation. The powers that be, we don't know who's at the top and we don't know who's behind everything. But, I think that they originally came through someone off-planet, extraterrestrial, or another dimension, saying, hey, we're here, trying to speak to us.
And what kind of messages do you think they're trying to show in those crop circles, because I mean they do get very intricate, some of them. Are
Well,
they warning us? Are they just trying to hint that they're there?
well, there's one that there's appears to be a warning. There's the one where there's the face of the alien gray in it, and it has a message about, be mindful of the deceivers, and there's still good out there, and there's a little bit of time. The conduit is closing, though. You have to wonder what those type mean. And then we also sent out into space years ago, I believe it was in the 70s, a disc and everything that had our DNA, where we come from, and stuff like that. And one of the crop circles came back with alien DNA and different things. So, and I'm only trying to hurry because I see time is running out. I could go into more detail, but it looks like.
Yeah, we are running short on time, but we'll definitely want to have you back, Gerald, because you just have a lot of good things to say, interesting things to say. You are very well-rounded in this whole UFO topic. One thing that I have found just over the last couple of months doing this show is that there seems to be no way to talk about UFOs and not at some point have to get into the Bible, God, all that type of thing. It just seems to go hand in hand. So many people that I've talked to, I think, understand this phenomenon with that in mind. Maybe it's just the people that I've happened to talk to, but it just seems like they go hand in hand. Listen, I want to ask you one more question, and then we'll call it a night, but I definitely would like to have you back. And my last question would be, what are your thoughts, in a short response, if you can, on the December 21st, 2012 date?
I think it's just another day.
Really?
Yes. I think it's just another day. It might be the start of opening up some kind of maybe a different level, maybe put us on a different vibration, maybe another download into human consciousness or the human physical. It may just be starting another age, but it's another day in my book. I'm not looking for any destruction or any of that stuff.
No doom and gloom. No super fantastic happenings. Just
yes.
If anything's going to happen, it'll be invisible to us materialistically anyway, huh?
Yeah. They've been predicting doom and gloom forever, and no one has hit it yet. So
that is true. That is true. Well, listen, Gerald, it's been a pleasure talking to you tonight. I thank you so much for coming on the show.
It was my pleasure, Rick.
I definitely let's give one more shout out there for your YouTube channel. Can you tell us that name again?
Yes, YouTube. Just go to YouTube, put in the search engine G-Man Little, one word, G-Man Little.
G-Man Little.
Yes, okay. One word, and it'll come up.
Excellent. Well, I'm definitely going to check that out. And like I said, I'll put a link on the Topic UFO site. And Gerald, we'll be staying in touch, and hopefully you'll come back and we can kind of take off from where we stopped tonight.
Sure, anytime.
All right, Gerald, you have a good evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Does it have that programming? I'm working on some other programming. But what I like about the channel is it has various meticulous playlists that people that are interested in unexplained phenomenon, they can go there and look up playlists. They can go look up Billy Myers or UFOs or anything, and there's a bunch of playlists that are put together from videos that are on YouTube. And to get to that channel, they would simply put in one word, G-Man Little.
G-Man Little.
Yes, in the search engine.
All right, very good. And so you say you've been doing this for a couple of months now, and have you gotten some good response back? People are enjoying your content?
Yes, I get emails from people all over the world explaining their theories and their experiences and stuff like that. It's actually been very rewarding. I think in the UFOs and Aliens in the Bible series, I'm addressing questions that have been on people's minds, for a long time. But to address those in our society can be deemed as taboo, or you can be deemed a heretic or something like that.
Well, yeah, you can definitely be shunned, can't you?
Yeah.
I live that life as well, so I totally understand. But yeah, the power of the internet when it comes to topics like this is just amazing. Just how far you can reach with your ideas and theories.
Yes.
Well, listen, I will definitely put a link up on the website on topicufo.com to your site as well. So. So Gerald, you're here tonight to talk to us about the Ancient Astronaut Theory. And I guess the first thing I wanted to ask you before we even get started, do you see a difference between the Ancient Astronaut Theory and the Ancient Alien Theory, or are they completely the same thing?
I'm assuming that they're the same thing. Based on the research and everything that I've done, I've come to my own conclusion that they're pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, okay. I just wondered because I've heard people use them kind of interchangeably, and I just wanted to verify that. So I guess we should let people know that Gerald has his own show or series, I guess you would call it, Gerald, on YouTube. And do you have a short link to your YouTube page?
Well, if anybody wanted to access my channel, it's called Unexplainable Phenomenon TV.
Unexplainable Phenomenon TV.
Yes, it's relatively new. I just started it a couple of months ago, and I started a series called UFOs and Aliens in the Bible, and it talks about just that, just what it says. It takes away from the traditional theories that's taught to us in churches and stuff like that, and sort of looks at it from a more scientific viewpoint. But not only...
Why don't you tell us a little bit? I know you, I believe you had a certain experience that happened to you when you were young that probably changed your outlook on this whole thing, although maybe it's taken this long for you to, start broadcasting your theory. But you had quite a bizarre happening when you were young. Is that correct?
That's true. I can tell you about that. Let me start with my childhood.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was different than most children. At around the age of 4, while all my friends and brothers and sisters were outside playing, I was leaning up against the wall, contemplating, thinking, wondering, who is God? So I've always had a curiosity about life from a young age. And I got some ridiculous answers. When you ask your siblings, they would say stuff like,